The trees of Lake Superior that border it have really taught me something over the past few years. Because when you walk along the shorelines of Lake Superior, and maybe a body of water that's near you is similar, but when I walk along the shoreline of Lake Superior, there are so many trees that have branches of odd shapes. And at first I pointed them out, just thinking that they were unique and odd and appreciating that about them. But then I stopped for a minute one winter's day and really tried to figure out why they were shaped that way. And I realized that they were shaped the way that they were. The branches were curved the way that they were in a very specific, particular way, and they were curved away from the water. And some of the branches were turned maybe sideways, so going with the wind that was sweeping towards me. And it just made me realize how sculpted these trees really are by the waves and the wind. Because Lake Superior can be very, very powerful. I mean, she is very powerful. But her waves can just encapsulate people and reach insane, wild heights. And she's the coldest of the lakes, and she's the deepest of the lakes, and so she holds a lot of power. And so all of that heavy wind, and heavy ice, and heavy waves crashing upon these trees over the course of these trees' lives have completely shaped and sculpted these trees. And it made me realize how important it is to flow with life instead of resisting. Because I had to imagine for just a moment what it would have been like at any moment for one of these trees if they hadn't bent with the waves, with the intense wind that was going towards them. What if they hadn't bent towards the flow and with the flow? The branches would have snapped off and they wouldn't have been the tree that they are today. Or maybe they would have broken in infancy and never seen the towering heights that they're reaching today. And they accept the icicles that lay on them and the intense, heavy snow that just piles and hangs and holds on them. They allow it to mold them so they can stand tall, so they can still grow, so they can still experience life. They weren't resistant to it, the changes of life. They weren't resistant to the waves and the wind and the heaviness and the heat and they weren't resistant to the seasons change. And that is so powerful for them. That's how they can stand so tall and so grand above us. And then one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the past few years is the lesson of also remaining small and how powerful being small is. and more specifically, moss and what moss can teach us. Because moss is so powerful. It is so strong. It looks delicate. It looks weak. Everybody steps on it all the time, but it is so mighty. It is so strong and resilient. It withstands the steps of people. It withstands so much. And yet it knows its place. It knows where to stand. And there's so much power in being and staying small for the periods of life where you are meant to stay small. Because if moss hadn't stayed small, and moss aspired during its time of staying small and being itself and being moss, if it aspired to be the tree, well, its leaves are a little too delicate to be a tree. Its leaves could not withstand the wind and the waves and the amount of ice and the heaviness of the snow per inch of its leaves. It wouldn't be able to withstand that. And so there's something so powerful about letting the trees and the moments of your life be the trees, and letting the moss moments of your life be the moss. If you are in a moss season, if you're in a time of your life where you are meant to be small, and you just feel as though your belongings are small, maybe your self-image is a little lacking where you would like it to be, even your creative endeavors, maybe they aren't where you would like them to be, they aren't as grand as you seek them to be. There will be a one day that you will be a tree and that you will be able to withstand the bend and the flow and the waves and the crashing and you will be able to move with that and mold to that. But there's also so much importance about remaining the moss, remaining in that moss state for a while. Being this thing that sort of hides in the background and just adds this background beauty. Because you're protected from the wind. Who's taking the blunt of the wind? It's the trees. They're the ones taking the hits. So sometimes at this point in our lives, it's good that we are in a dormancy, we are in a slowness, we are in a quiet period. Or maybe our creative endeavors aren't where they would like to be or where we would like them to be. And maybe our confidence isn't where we would like it to be, or something in our life seems a little lacking or a little small. Maybe our means are small, our finances are small, who knows? But maybe there's something super important about that, because maybe there's a big wind coming in your life. A big wind that you would not have missed if you had been a tree at that moment. And maybe even though you can bend when you are a tree, right now in your life, there is an inability to bend in that way. There's an inability because you haven't grown enough to become that tree. There's a lot to be said about being small in this moment, and there's a lot to be said about being tall and grand when it is the right time to be tall and grand. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Have a wonderful day.